I am here now. One of the most powerful exercises for self-development. In this video, I'll be giving you a step-by-step instruction on how to perform this exercise for it to be magical and for it to actually change things in your life. And I'm pretty sure all of you have heard this phrase and phrases like be in the moment, be here now, be present. If you've actually tried performing it and tried repeating it, most probably you notice that nothing actually changes if you just repeat the sentence. And in this video, I'll explain why nothing changes and what you need to do for this sentence to become magical. So, first of all, we need to understand that the most important part is who is saying this sentence. Which part of you is active while you are pronouncing this sentence, when you're making this announcement that you are here now, I'm in the moment, I'm here now. The cognitive scientists have proven that 95% of the time you are operating from your subconscious mind, and only 5% of the time you are actually aware of what you're doing and you're operating from conscious mind. So this is what makes the whole difference. If you pronounce those words while operating from your subconscious, which is just autopilot in you, if you just say those words from that state, nothing changes, because that state is what I call the animal consciousness in you. So that would be the soul. The 5% of the time it is ruling your life, and like you're aware of its activity. And 95% of the time it's the animal in you who is controlling everything. So when you pronounce that from the animal part of you, from while being in subconscious, under the effect of your subconscious mind, operating from that state, you're pronouncing that you're here now. And really, for the animal, there's like, it's obvious, yeah, of course I'm here now, where else can I possibly be? The animal consciousness has no ability to perceive time anyway. So any moment an animal perceives is now. It always perceives now anyway. So when you pronounce that from the animal state of consciousness, from the subconscious state of operation, you're actually just stating the reality as it is. Of course, it is always now for the animal. It knows nothing. It knows no future, no past. If you ask a person in this operating mode if you ask them to just recall a memory from distant past, like when your mother was angry at you for, I don't know, not doing your homework, and how did you feel? If you try to recall those memories, those emotions, and I ask you, not you, the animal in you, when is this happening? The animal will say now. When are you experiencing that pain? Where, like, your mother is yelling at you for the homework you didn't do. When? The animal is always experiencing it in the now. It's always now for the animal, simply because it does not have capacity to perceive time. So doing this exercise, performing that magical phrase while being in your subconscious mode, in the animal mind, it's a waste of time. Yeah, and then you are complaining like, why I'm following these teachings for so many years and nothing is changing. Life is just keeps repeating, because you're stating the obvious. I'm here now. The animal's here now. Animal's here now all the time. All the time. That now is the only thing that's available to the animal consciousness. So the task of this exercise, the key idea for you to grasp here, is the difference between performing that exercise or that phrase from the autopilot from your animal level of consciousness, and performing that phrase from that 5% of your consciousness where you're actually aware of yourself. And our task through all the work that we're doing on this channel is to increase that percentage from 5 to grow to some bigger number. So, and how do we do that? By performing this exercise specifically as a way of raising your level of awareness, self-awareness, mindfulness, whatever you call it. So, the exercise itself is, we are going to be breaking down this sentence, all these words in this sentence, into action steps. And I'll be explaining how to perform each word as an action, which you're supposed to be doing with the awareness, with the conscious mind, with the 5% which is available to you, and not just repeating the words on autopilot. So let's go word by word and you'll get what I'm talking about. So the first word, I. Purpose of the first word, of the first action step, is to wake you up, is to make you recall who you are. Remember, who are you? I is, it stands for who is going to be talking, who is going to be pronouncing this sentence. If it's the animal, it's just going to be a repetition of what you've already done and said before. If it's going to be your conscious action, and if it's going to be an exercise that you're doing with like all of your awareness being present in the moment, then I is the step where you're supposed to wake up. Remember, who are you? You are consciousness. The one that's talking to you now, through me, through this body, is consciousness. I am consciousness. I am not the personality, not the identity, not the body, not the life story, not the profession, whatever you label you would like to put on me. First and foremost, I am consciousness, and I'm using this body to communicate with you. So, first step of this exercise is to wake up. If you're in the middle of, I don't know, some stressful situation, let's take as an example, like an argument that you're having, and in the middle of that argument, why are you even in that situation? Why are you even in that argument? The reason is because you have forgotten yourself. You forgot who you are. You forgot that you're consciousness. And that's the only way that you can even get into an argument, is by forgetting your nature, forgetting who you are. You get associated too much with your name, story, gender, identity, whatever else you want to identify with. You identified with that role, and that's how you got into the argument. In the middle of that argument, if you are able to stop and wake up, remember, who are you? Who is having this argument? Who is arguing? Who are you? That's the key part of the whole journey of awakening. In the middle of a stressful situation, uncomfortable situation, which you would like to stop repeating in your life, to be able to stop and remember yourself, to be able to stop and wake up and remember that you are consciousness, first of all, before everything else, your consciousness. Unless, like, you wouldn't be even able to get into those stressful situations if you wouldn't be forgetting it all the time, who you are. So, who are you? What are you? That's the first question. And the answer in this sentence is I. I am consciousness. So our sentence, I am here now. The first action step of this phrase is to wake up. Remember that you're consciousness. Second action step, the second word, am. That's the only verb in our sentence. And the function of this verb here is to show the action, right? The activity of the subject. The activity of consciousness. What does consciousness do? Being here represents creating. That's the activity performed by consciousness. That's what consciousness does. Being equals creating for consciousness. So, I am here now. Consciousness creates here and now. I'm creating here and now. I'm consciousness who is creating here and now. So now let's go back to that moment in the middle of an argument where you lost yourself and you're arguing and you're like all the knowledge that you've learned throughout all these teachings and watching all these videos, like they all go out the window. The moment somebody yells at you, you forget all of that. You forget who you are, what are you doing, why are you even here? You're so engaged in that conflict and you feel like you need to react now. You need to I don't know, protect yourself, defend yourself, attack, or whatever else you plan to decide to do in that moment. And that is the automatic reaction, automatic response of the autopilot, the 95%, which actually creates karma. In that moment, by reacting to the stressful situation, the 95% of you, the subconscious part of you, it's still consciousness, it's still you. Just you're not aware of it. The 5% you're aware of and 95% that you're not aware of, you're creating karma by it. How do you create a karma? By participating in this argument. In the moment you participate, the moment you engage, you create karma. You create repetition of the same thing because you are consciousness, which is creating here and now. In the middle of the argument, you're creating your next argument. You're creating here and now. So waking up, remembering that you're consciousness. Who am I? I'm consciousness. What am I doing? I'm creating. What am I creating? An argument. I'm participating in this argument. By participating in this argument, I'm creating my next argument because I'm consciousness who is constantly creating. Whatever I am in right now, I am creating more of, right? So in this moment of the argument where you normally decide that, okay, I'll just react now, and now is not the time to meditate or be mindful or do all these things. Now is not the time. I will react to this person now, and I'll think about it later. I'll talk to my therapist about it later. I'll discuss it with whatever, my teacher later. But now here you already created karma. So what's the point? We can talk about it as much as you want afterwards, but in the middle of the argument is where you create karma, is where it's decided, will it repeat or not? Because you're consciousness who is creating here and now. So the point, now you see how this simple sentence is getting heavier and heavier with every word that we discuss. So that's what makes this phrase magical, and that's what makes it an exercise, actually, a multi-step exercise, which actually gives real results and which allows to actually shift your life if you perform it fully and properly, and more than just once, hopefully. So now we have first two words. I am here now. Consciousness creates here and now. When you'll try to actually perform this phrase, what you will feel is resistance on the first, on the second word. Hopefully on the first word, like, okay, I'm consciousness. That's more or less like easy for majority of my viewers to accept. Yeah, I'm consciousness. You're more or less aware of that term and you accept it more or less if you're listening to me. But the second word means taking responsibility. If I'm consciousness, who is creating, that's actually like the step itself means taking responsibility. And that does not go easy on anyone. Like if you tell me that you, oh, I performed it and I'm just, yes, I create everything and it's so easy. I've performed this exercise and it was so easy. Thank you so much for explaining. If it was easy for you, it means you didn't get the point. You didn't do it. Because naturally, just imagine 95% of your consciousness is on autopilot, it's sleeping. The moment you take responsibility, this whole 95%, this whole potential is going to resist. This is not good news for the animal. I create everything all the time. I create everything that surrounds me and everything that has ever surrounded me. It's just, yeah, it sounds as words, yeah, maybe in your life it's good. But when you apply it to yourself, if you actually perform the second step, you are going to feel huge resistance. And that is healthy. That is natural. That's normal. That actually means that you're doing it. You're performing it. Okay. If you don't feel resistance, it means you're still imagining something. You're dreaming. Natural reaction is to get tense. And that tension, the body will resist and it will give you that tension as it will let you feel it like in form of emotions, any kind of emotions, and nervous system will react with just physical tension. Maybe something will actually hurt or you'll feel pain somewhere or just tension in muscles. And that is body's response to responsibility. It's like, no, because if you just, okay, I created this conflict. Okay, yeah, maybe I'm also part of it. Even in the middle of that conflict, if it's real for you, you'll have huge resistance stopping and taking responsibility. Just that little example already will resonate with you. You'll understand like why it's hard to actually do it in the moment, why you prefer to do it later with a therapist in comfortable chair sitting where there's no danger or discomfort. But even in that little example, you can already feel why it's uncomfortable to take responsibility. But if the more you go into it, the deeper you go, the more times you repeat it and you actually observe, the more responsibility you start feeling. So it's not just that conflict. It's all conflicts ever in my life. Everything that surrounds me, all the people, all the circumstances, all the things not just here, but like everything that I perceive anywhere on the planet, I'm creating. And the larger the scale of your perspective, like your scale on which you're looking at this exercise, the larger it grows, the worse you're going to feel and the more tension you're going to experience. And that is normal and no need to push through it right away, like to do the whole thing all at once. There is no such goal here. The purpose is to just get the point how it works, and then it will take time to process, to get some practice and to actually get it moving. So first step is to wake up. Remember, who are you? Who am I? I'm consciousness. What am I doing? I'm creating. I'm not arguing. I'm not running. I'm not fighting. I'm creating something in this moment. In the middle of this conflict, I'm creating. third and fourth step are the words here and now. How do we perform those? So, if first one is to wake up, second, to take responsibility, I, consciousness, am creating. Here and now is translated as consciousness creates time and space. Ugh. I'm creating time and space. How do we perform time and space? And that would be the cross that I always talk about. The cross, where the vertical line is space and the horizontal line is time. How do we perform those? Space. I am here. I'm consciousness. I'm creating here. Where here? Here. First of all, inside this body. Where is my consciousness located right now? It is inside this body, first of all. And then this body is in this room, and then this room is in this city, and so on. So with the third step, we're supposed to pin ourselves down to this specific spot where our consciousness is located right now. That's inside the body, is the very center of it. And then like bigger, that would be the room, the house, the city. But the center is inside the body. You can perform this action step by imagining, I don't know, like just pinning yourself like on the map, specific spot on the planet. And I don't want you to imagine a pin going through you or a rod, but you can imagine like a beam of light. It's better than a rod going through you. So a beam of light going through you, entering through your head and going through you and pinning you down to the specific spot on the surface of the planet. That's where you are. That's where you are located right now. And that's the key part of the magic. Because if you don't know where you're located, you are creating all over the place. You're creating something like, where would you like to be right now? If I just ask you that question straight and I give you a piece of paper and ask you like, where does your mind take you? Like, where would you like to be? And all the things that might start coming up, all the places where you're like on that island, I'd like to be walking in Paris, or I'd like to be near that person, sitting like having dinner with him and not sitting here listening to all this stuff. Where would you like to be? Place, location, with whom you would like to be? Where is your mind going off all the time? Where are you flying all the time? Instead of being here in the middle of this body, you're always going places. Some of you are flying to some stars, some moon, or yeah. So you're in many different places, anywhere else, just not here. Why? You don't want to be here. It's boring. Here, what is here? Well, nothing is happening here. It's boring to be in here in the body. I prefer to be there by that place, by that person, doing this and that and that. I'd like to be there. And you're always traveling somewhere in space, which means that you're consciously splitting your attention in between, like instead of being here, focused in a place where you're actually located and creating from this place out, you are splitting yourself and sending parts of your awareness. You're aware of that place, you're aware of the moon, you're aware of, and you're creating everywhere. You're creating something on the moon, you're creating something in Paris, you're creating something in the house of that person that you're missing, your grandma, your whole home city, your home school, you're like everywhere at once. You're creating something. Your consciousness. You have ability to create. Where are you creating? You're creating all over the place. In 20 different locations, you're creating something. And of course, like it's not very effective, right? Because your capacity is obviously limited. It would be better if you focus on one thing and create one instead of splitting yourself into 20 and try to create all of them. So, I create here. inside this body, within this body. That's the center. That's the location where I'm pinning myself to, location-wise, space-wise. And then that's the vertical line in the cross, and the horizontal line in the cross is timeline. Where are you? Once again, you can take a piece of paper and list all the places where your mind is flying off to all the time. Past, future, everywhere where you'd like to be, where you go all the time. You go to that moment in the past where your mother was angry at you, or that your first grade teacher, or your first lover, or your first whatever dog died, or you keep going to those moments in the past, or some moments in the future where you're constantly traveling. What are you doing? You're sending parts of your awareness, of your attention, to future, to the past. And what are you doing there? You are creating something there, because your consciousness is creating here and now. Like you're supposed to be creating here and time-wise now. So that's the cross. Here, now. The very center of this cross is where you're actually located. This is consciousness in the center of the cross. That's Shiva. The dot in the center of the cross. I wish I could draw that here, but I'm showing. I hope you can imagine, visualize the cross. The dot in the center of that cross is the first word in our sentence. I. I means consciousness. When it's in the center of the cross, it is just consciousness. It's Shiva. It just is. The moment it starts acting, being, doing anything, it starts expanding from the center of the cross outward. So at the center, consciousness is Shiva. When it's expanding, this action of expansion, moving outwards, being, doing anything, that activity is Shakti. So we have the sentence, I am here now. Center of the cross is I, Shiva. The circle, like going out from that center, is Shakti, activity, the movement, the creation. You're creating, you're being, you're doing. That's the circle moving out of the center. And these two lines, they signify where all this is happening. And like naturally it's happening here and now. You're being here and you're creating from this point outward. You're creating. But when your awareness is split all over the timeline, you're actually creating things in the past all the time. So that incident in first grade when you had a conflict with your classmate, you keep remembering it, keep going back there remembering it. You need to understand that that past does not exist somewhere. It's not sitting somewhere in space, and you're not traveling to it to visit that incident. You are creating it all the time. Every time you think about it, you create it. That's because that's what you are. You're consciousness. And consciousness does what? Consciousness creates. So you're constantly, repeatedly creating that one incident which happened like 40 years ago. You keep creating it. Every time you go there, you create. So where are you creating? All over the place and time. You're creating in Paris, on some islands, in your grandma's home you're visiting, you're with your loved ones, walking in the park, you're everywhere, location-wise. And space and time-wise, you are all over the past, in different places. You're creating them, recreating. Every time you're remembering them, You're actually creating the same memory and same imagination about the future. You can keep creating. So no wonder manifestations don't work, because you are not here and now. The magic, who does the magic? The consciousness, which is you. When it's here and now, it can do the magic. But if you're not here and you're not now, you're everywhere else, and you're all over the time, past, future, and not present. Why not present? Because you feel like there is nothing in present to do for you. What's there in present? Boring. Like, I've seen everything here already. It's like all predictable. Let's think about the future, or let's think about the past. Let's create the past. Let's use our energy to just keep recreate the past. And then you're shocked, like, why are events repeating? Because you're creating them all the time. Your consciousness who is creating. Every time, like, you had that one argument, you didn't stop it while it was going, you created karma, and then you talked about it like 25 times to all of your friends, and then you thought about it the whole day, and before you go to bed, when you wake up next morning, you keep thinking and thinking. Every time you think about it, you create more of that. You create that event again and again and again. You are consciousness which has creative power, and you choose to create the same thing over and over and over and over and over for 40 years, 50, 60, several lifetimes. You keep creating the same thing, the same thing. I hope my point got through. So how do we learn to perform the cross, the here and now? It will not, again, it will not just snap at your first attempt into place and just work magically. Most likely it will take some time, because your mind will wander off. It will go places and times and travel. Your task is to get conscious and of all the places and times where you like to escape all the time. So you take a piece of paper and you can just list all the places where you'd like to be, or where your mind wanders off most often, and times when you'd like to go. All the memories, like maybe your some school memories, your childhood memories, I don't know, your memories from your past relationships, workplaces, and so on. Where is your mind? Where is your awareness? If you are aware of that memory, it means you are creating it. And that is your choice. Is it a conscious choice? That's the question. Or is it your automatic choice because you're running on autopilot? Because that's what autopilot is there for. It is a machine to repeat, to record something and replay, record and replay, 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 repeat, repeat, repeat. That's the whole purpose of the machine, of the subconscious, of the animal. That's what it's gonna do. And the difference between the conscious part of your mind is that's the part which wants to see some changes, like you're bored and tired of constantly repeating same events and scenarios. You want to change something. In that case, you want to learn how to stop playing all scenarios on autoplay or whatever. So I hope you're getting the point here. So the key here is to understand which mind is active, which mind is dominant. If the subconscious mind is dominant, if the animal is dominant, you can say this phrase as many times as you want. is just replay. You replay, that's what the animal is there for. It will replay the phrase, like nothing's gonna change. You want to make sure that the conscious mind is active, that your awareness is present, and then you do this exercise. That's why we first wake up, take responsibility, and then remind ourselves, where are we and when are we? We're here now. And that's where all your power is, in that moment, in this specific moment, in this specific time, when you're all concentrated in this one spot, in this one dot in the middle of the cross. That's where you are Shiva. That's where you're God, and where your all potential is, in that center. If you can just bring all those split parts of your awareness, collect them from all the places, all the times where you've sent them off, bring them all here and connect them all into this one dot, here and now. Your consciousness who is creating. And then you get the power to create something new, if you wish to. So here you can get any moment, like, is it like, it's not exercise just to be done like in the middle of a conflict. Anytime during the day, you can perform this exercise by simply reminding yourself, I'm here now. Who am I? What am I doing? I'm creating. I'm creating what and when. I'm creating here and now. I'm creating this moment. And anytime that you have this inner dialogue in your head, if you catch yourself, as you can use it as a mindfulness exercise, to catch yourself and to ask yourself, what am I doing? Who am I? What am I doing? If I'm talking in my head, I have a conversation in my head, what is a dialogue, inner dialogue? It is me telling myself things that I already know. So it's repetition. Like, I know all of that. It's just, so what's the purpose of dialogue? So when I get questions from you, what is thinking and what is overthinking? Like, what's the difference? The overthinking, or the pointless thinking, or useless thinking, is when you're just having a dialogue inside your head. You're just talking to yourself, repeating to yourself things that you already know. That's just repetition. That's just replay. And that's overthinking, and that's tiring you, and that's making you stressed, that's overloading you, and then you get depressed and angry and upset with life and so on. Because of repetition. If from repetition you expect something new to come out. Just so you know, from repetition, nothing new will ever come out. So maybe there's a point to cut the repetition. And silence in your mind, if you experience it for the first time, it will scare you. It will not feel comfortable, because you like, it feels much more comfortable if you're used to like talking to yourself in your mind. Then just quieting your mind will freak you out, because you need time to learn to exist in silence. When you're not explaining anything to yourself, you're not talking to some imaginary opponents, and you're not having discussions with imaginary people, and or with, you split yourself in two and tell yourself things that you already know. When you can cut all of that, you'll actually get access to much more of your potential. And how do you get rid of that inner dialogue? Is by performing this exercise. Who am I? Consciousness. What am I doing? I'm talking to myself. Why? I'm repeating to myself things that I already know. Pointless. Let's focus on something else. And when this exercise like done throughout the day, throughout the calm hours or throughout when you're falling asleep and your mind starts going, imagining the possible like negative scenarios. Once again, stop. Who am I? What am I doing here and now? What am I doing here and now? I'm creating the negative scenario. I'm creating it actually. I'm literally creating it by thinking about it. When you realize your power and when you remember that your consciousness and you're able to create and you're creating all the time. What is purpose? To create the same things all the time. What's the point? The point is the answer. If you ask yourself that question, why do you like to create the same things all the time? Because that feels safe. Because if you've lived that situation before, you've already been through it and you're still alive. For the animal, that's more than enough. You've survived this situation once. It's safe enough to live it again and again and again and 100 times more. So the animal will always choose repetition instead of something new. So when you tell me that you want to change something in your life and you tell me that you want something new, you want to go to next level, new level, the animal in you, the 95% of you, does not want to go anywhere, does not want to change anything. Because new is scary. New is unpredictable. New is like anything can come out of there. Who wants that? No, I prefer, the animal would say, I prefer to just keep living, even those situations which felt terrible and bad, even if they felt terrible and bad, I've somehow survived them. So safe enough. I can live few more of those. If I'm still alive, it means I'll survive. So the animal will always choose repetition. That's what it's meant for. It's meant to memorize and repeat, memorize and replay. And that's next level task, is to learn how to make it memorize useful things or positive things, for it to replay on autopilot things like confidence or things like alignment. It can also be turned into a habit. It can also be played on repeat. Once you train the animal to feel aligned, to feel confident, to feel positive, to feel connected to source, the animal will memorize, and whenever you need it, you just activate and it plays it on repeat. It's all about what you input, what you program it for. You need to create the habit, and then the animal will pick it up and replay it. And then it becomes very easy to stay aligned, to stay positive and connected and so on, when it's already automatic. It's running on the automatic mode, on autopilot. I don't need to do something specific for it. I've trained the animal to believe that this is our natural mode, and it's just replaying the confidence and the connection and the alignment as our natural state of being. Our saying mine and the bodies. So what else do we have? So how do we know if the exercise started working? If you try this I am here now exercise, and if you do the list of places, that's where we stopped, the list of places and times where your mind slips off and wanders off to, those lists, what do you need to do with them? You need to actually go through the whole list and consciously bring your awareness back from that place. Take it back. Your attention. Why is your attention there? What are you waiting for? What are you trying to get there? The task is to bring those parts of your split attention back to yourself by reminding yourself that you are powerful only when you're centered. That's where your power is. That's where you're Shiva, at the very center of this cross. That's where you're powerful. Whenever you're split, you're not powerful anyway. So when you try to create things in 20 different locations, you're not creating much. You're not that powerful when you're split. So point to create all these locations. If you stop thinking about that person or that place, or if you stop missing that memory, it will disappear. You're wrong, because you can always recreate any memory, event, or whatever whenever you wish to. You have that power, so you don't need to hold on to places, memories, people in order for them to keep existing. You can create. When you're at the center, when you're powerful, you're Shiva, you can create. And pulling your attention back from those places is usually described as one of those exercises where, oh yeah, I wanted to talk about cutting cords. It's very popular all around the internet. I see these meditations, cord cutting meditations, and they're cutting cords with people, places, and so on. And there is actually a tendency to use that exercise as a way to manipulate reality, to manipulate people. Like, okay, if you cut that cord with that person, you'll immediately see that person showing up in your reality. Unfortunately, if you do the cord cutting and the person shows up, it means you actually sent a hook and pulled. That's not how pulling your attention back from a place or a person means that you forget about the place, like you release the memory, and the person is released as well. If the person shows up when you go through the list of where places and people where you'd like to be, and you take your attention back, you pull your attention back, and the person calls you right away or shows up right away, it means you did not get your attention back. You actually threw a hook and you pulled. And maybe I'll have to do a separate video just on the cord cutting and this absurd theory that you can manipulate reality this way. Yeah, but for now, for this video, let's just go with this idea. If you try to get your attention back from the place and it starts showing more often in your dreams, for example, or people start talking about this place to you, or reminding you about this place, it means you did not actually get your attention from it. Instead, you threw a hook and pulled. Maybe it's a heavy concept for this video. I'll focus on it separately if you'll need more details on this part. But for this video, let's just go through the steps. I, consciousness, am creating here, space, and now, and time. Consciousness creates space and time. I'm consciousness. I'm creating space and time right now, right here. I'm creating. Waking up to who you are, taking responsibility, which is unpleasant, but in order to grow, we have to do that, at least step by step. And then reminding yourself, where are you actually creating? All your power is in this moment, in the center of this body, in this specific location, in this moment, is where you are creating your next moment. Will this fight repeat, or will that stressful situation repeat or not, is dependent on what you're going to do in this specific moment. Repeat, recreate the karma, recreate the cycle, play on repeat from your memories, your subconscious mind? Or will you remember who you are, remember that you create, and create something new, something different? Dare to create something new, something different and something better, hopefully. So the difference, once again, about the conscious mind. Here, one more point that I want to go through before I finish. The cross, Shiva and Shakti. Shiva is the dot, Shakti is expanding of that energy outwards, the activity, the dance, the movement. That's you creating. The activity is creating. The point is that you're able to create something. You're able to be Shakti, act like Shakti, only when you're Shiva, when you're dot, when you're fully centered in this point. You have to be fully centered in the point in order to be able to look outwards, to create something outwards. If you're not fully centered in the center of this cross, your attention is not pointed outward. You're not actually creating anything. You're not actually shining outwards. Your attention is turned inwards. So anytime you're having an inner dialogue, or anytime you're having a memory, every time you're going to your past, to your future, you're talking to that person, you're dreaming about that place, or all of that is happening inside of you only. This is a paradox that you need to grasp. If you're not focused in the center, there's no, like, if you're not in the center, if you're not the dot, you cannot look outward. You will always be looking inward. And what do you find if you look inward? You find what you consist of. Your memories, your past, your dreams, your wishes, your fears. You're looking inward. So you're creating inside. All your memories, all your imagination, it's all happening inside. You're not actually seeing the world. You're not perceiving the world. You're not actually participating in the reality outside. You're living inside your mind. 95% of the time, you're just living in your mind, in your imagination, going to past, to future, talking to people, going to just remembering things. You're just living inside. Why? What's the point to look outside? I know everything there. What? Oh, that's just a chair. That's a chair. Why should I look at the chair? Well, that's just the street. I've seen the street so many times. No point to look at it. I'll go inside. The point of your attention, I will not look outside and create. Because you create only when you are in the center and looking outward. You are creating. You're the Shiva being Shakti looking outward. Creating, actually. When you are not looking outward, 95% of you is turned and looking inward. You're just digging in your old mess, just digging in your thoughts, in your wishes, dreams, memories, on and on and on, living in your own mind, not actually interacting with the world around you. And the result of that is that you're actually not even noticing what's happening around most of the time. You do not see reality as it is. You imagine. You feel like you know everything already. Yeah, that's just a chair, that's just a street, that's just a tree, nothing to look at. Why should I be here now looking at that tree? What haven't I seen in trees? I know everything about trees. And this exercise is meant to turn your attention outward, to actually look at the tree and see the tree. Not imagine it as you usually do. Oh, just you look at the chair for a bit of a second, and you look at a tree or a person for a split second, and you're like, okay, that's just a woman, that's just a chair, that's just a tree, I've solved it, that's I know. And you turn back inside, and everything else you just do inside your mind. You don't actually interact with the tree, chair, woman. Why? You know everything about women. You can do the rest inside your mind. That's why things keep repeating and repeating and repeating, and you see same women, same trees, and same chairs. They all look same because you do not bother to actually look. Because to look you have to stop focusing your 95% of your attention inwards and start looking outwards. And this exercise can actually be done as um, an exercise of like mindful observation. You just take a chair and you just look at it. You look at it and you'll be shocked how many new details you will see if you actually focus on an object, not just dismiss it and label it, it's a chair, and dismiss. To actually focus on an object and start exploring it, you'll be shocked how many details you've never noticed in that chair before you actually looked. Because what you do, you quickly scan the surroundings, you label everything, and then you don't interact with these things anymore. You interact with the labels, which you have in your inner files. You go through the files. Woman, okay, I know everything about women. Chairs, I know everything about chairs. You always look inside, and you just repeat the things. All chairs look same, all women look same, all trees look same. Because it's easier and safer and to look inward than to actually look outward and explore. And that's hopefully what I'm convincing you to start doing more, to look outside and notice things. And if you actually perform this exercise successfully at least once, the first effect that you're going to notice and experience is you start noticing new things. You'll start noticing new details of old things. You'll start noticing that the things that you've just labeled before, they actually have like a lot of characteristics which you never noticed and never paid attention to because you never bothered to look outside, look at things actually, look at situations, look at people, trees, streets, and so on. You might just, if you perform the exercise properly, you might wake up in the same room, look around, and be shocked that you never noticed that, like, I don't know, that picture on your wall, like there were, like, I don't know, bears standing behind the tree. They were there always, you never paid attention, never noticed. Or you go on the street where you walk every day for years and years, and for the first time ever, you notice the, I don't know, the light poles or names of the shops on your street, for example, which you feel like you've seen 100 times, you never noticed. And those are the side effects: increased attention, increased sensitivity to sounds, to colors, to details, to tastes, smells, and so on. That would be the side effect of this exercise if performed properly. And you'll start noticing details of situations, something which you would normally jump to conclusion to about, like, this is an argument, someone is attacking me. Normally you would just jump right away to the conclusion and react. If you learn to be here now, you'll start noticing that that was just a friendly question or like a normal conversation. It was not an argument, actually. Nobody attacked you. But in order to notice that, you need to shift that percentage from 5%, increase at least a few percents, and you'll start seeing the effects. Okay, I hope this made sense. Ask me questions on which part was unclear, if there was something, and I hope we'll learn this exercise together and it will give results. See you again. Bye bye.